moyo wangu wasisa kufira Zimbabwe.
Comrade, during that time when you said there was too much politics, who were some of the leaders of that time that you would go and, as youth, that you would go and listen to as they were talking?
Well, ANC was banned, but I was not a part of it.
Okay.
Most of our leaders were then detained.
Okay.
But I began to participate in ZAPU, LANU, when it was enforced.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Who were some of the leaders during that time?
It was Michael Mawema, Umvukela, who was the secretary, Chirundika, publicity secretary, and many others.
Many others. Chizengeni, tell me, how did you get involved in politics? What drove you to have this interest to say, no, me, I think I want to get involved in politics? What drove you to join politics?
It was accidental, actually.
Okay.
It wasn't anything that I sat home and thought about it. No. A friend who was much older than me had attended a meeting of the NDP previously, before that particular weekend, when he came along where I stayed, and suggested that I join him to go to a meeting of these guys. You must come, that's what he said to me. You must come and listen to these guys. They know exactly what needs to be done in this country. And I'm saying, what is this about? Because I had no idea about what politics, what is that to do with what?
Yes.
But anyway, he says, come, just come along. So I went there, rather not very enthusiastic about it, because I didn't know exactly what it is that he was talking about.
Exactly. Yeah.
But when we got there, the first thing that struck me was these guys seemed to have been surrounded by policemen, and white policemen for that matter, with their dogs.
Okay.
And to my surprise, the chap who was speaking didn't mince his words at all.
Who was that who was speaking?
Michael Mawema.
Oh, okay, Michael Mawema.
Yes.
And where was this? Where was this address?
This is in Highfield.
Okay.
This was in Highfield.
Yes.
And I had never heard of his name. I'd never heard him speak before.
Okay.
So, but what he had to say.
What was he talking about when you say he didn't mince his words?
Michael Mawema was addressing the gathering.
Yes.
Enumerating all the injustices that the Africans were suffering. And he was suggesting that to get out of the mess that the people were under, we needed to be able to rule ourselves. And to rule ourselves, we need one man, one vote. Yeah. He was saying we're tired of asking for mercy from these white guys. They're not listening to us. We need one man, one vote. That's the only way we will be able to introduce laws that will benefit the majority of us. And to me, that was all new. I mean, I'd never heard anybody talk about that. No, and I'm saying, what is that? And anyway, he explained all those demands in a manner, again, that I had never experienced, never heard before. An African speak like the way he was speaking. And to make matters worse for me, at that time, I was thinking, where does he get the guts from to speak like this in the presence of these white guys? And why is he not scared of these white guys?
Yes.
Because I put myself in his shoes and I said I couldn't do that. Because
tell me, comment. What was the white man like during this time? Because when during this time, when I say a white man, I just say just another human being. But tell us of this white man at that time. What kind of a person was he during that time?
The white man was a superhuman being.
Okay.
Yeah, he was in every respect.
Okay.
If you are walking along the street and the white man is coming from that side, you have to get out of the road.
That's true.
Okay.
Yeah, because you can't rub shoulders with him.
No.
No.
He was that superhuman.
Yeah. Because if you didn't do that,
yeah,
and some of these white guys, they would actually kick at you or push you off the way.
Okay.
So you knew already anyway that when the white man comes from that side, you give way.
This actually happened?
Oh yes, it did. They were frightening, to say the least, very frightening. But the most important thing, what they had guts to ban politics.
Mm-hmm.
We were in a federal state of Rhodesia and Iceland. That they then banned the organization we belonged to, the ANC.
Okay.
In the end, we ended up with a separate party, NDP in Southern Rhodesia, Malawi Congress Party, and in Northern Rhodesia there's they also had another party.
Okay.
That's how NDP was then formed. National Democratic Party of Rhodesia.
Okay. So you go to this meeting, comrades again, and Michael Mawema is speaking like that, and you're wondering, where is this black man getting all these guts? What did that do to you now?
I was, of course, impressed.
Okay.
Impressed not just by the language. Remember, he's speaking in English.
Okay.
And like I said earlier, I had not come across an African who spoke in English the way he spoke.
Okay.
And then to me, he had the guts to say that what we wanted was one man, one vote. I'd never heard an African talk like that before. Yeah. But here is a man who is saying that in the presence of all these white guys, these policemen with their dogs. He's not scared of being arrested.
And as he's addressing like that, these white men who are with dogs, what are they doing? Are they just watching him, or you can clearly see they're agitated? What is their reaction?
No, I never wasted any time looking at them. In fact, maybe I was too scared anyway to look at them. I know, I couldn't look at them.
Okay.
I was just impressed by this man.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after this address, how then did you?
It took a long time for me to be really interested in politics.
Okay.
Or in what he was doing or saying. But once in a while, that friend of mine who asked me to accompany him to this meeting would come along and say, "Do you want to come along with me this weekend?"
What is his name? What's the name of this friend?
Oh,
you forgotten?
I forgot. No,
you know, it's a friend from a long time
ago. It's a long time ago.
No, that's okay. So, did you finally get into the structures of the party at some point?
Not NDP.
Oh, okay.
Not NDP.
But I was.
But you were part of NDP.
Yes.
In what role? In what capacity?
I was working at that factory. Joined trade unions, which were very legal in South Africa and here.
Okay.
And they were not banned. Okay. But I participated in politics through the trade unions. When I then left my employment, I went to Buruai.
Okay.
Where the trade union was thriving.
Thriving, yes, yeah.
Yeah, in every aspect.
The trade unions of that time, what were they fighting for?
Wages. Well, they had an Industrial Conciliation Act.
Okay.
In other words, they were permitted to exist.
Okay.
Yes. But perhaps the difference I introduced was to face the employer with that document asking for permission to address their workers.
Okay.
Even my seniors were frightened.
Okay.
And when they saw me doing this, They thought I was very brave,
Okay.
but that was...
So who were some of the leaders of the trade unions of that time that you remember their names?
Jason Moyo, Charles Pachipanoja, Phineas Chitole, and many others.
Okay.
But I must add that Jason Chitole, Jason Moyo assisted me to get out of the country.
Oh, okay.
I then went to Israel for a 6 months course.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. This is when you're still under NDP, or this is later now when you
I was still aligned to NDP, except that I was now a member of a trade union.
Oh, okay.
I went to NDP meetings.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
During these meetings, NDP meetings, what were they talking about? What was the currency at that time?
It was very frank. I also know very well Michael Mawema was in Gweru. He worked as a social worker at the railways.
Okay.
He was now an organizing factory. And the most important thing is he was a very articulate speaker.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. So you are now in NDP. I want to know what was the ideology, what was driving NDP? What were they saying they want to do NDP?
Freedom. You could quite say, we could quite say we wanted freedom and we wanted to express ourselves and ourselves, shall we say, freely, without fear of the white man. That became very clear.
Was there any difference in politics? The politics that was happening in Harare and the politics that was happening in Bulawayo. Was there like any difference?
We were segregated. Remember, we didn't live in towns.
Okay.
We lived in locations.
Okay.
And they could raid the locations anytime.
Okay.
Yes. That was different.
When you say you were segregated, you were living in locations.
White men lived in town.
You
Suburbs.
You couldn't live in suburbs and in towns?
No.
Because I live in town now, so I'm wondering.
No. We had locations.
Okay.
These are called